When we think about memorable camera directions, we may think of those high-up crane shots, or elaborate long takes, or robot arms. But why do we really move the camera? When is a slow push in on a character more effective than a static shot or vice versa? Why would this shot
Shit just got real.
not work for this scene?
She's been murdered, and you think I did it.
Next to directing actors, directing the camera can be one of the most challenging tasks a director takes on. So it's important to know what tools are available to tell your story visually. So let's fill up your toolkit with the most common and not so common ways of directing the camera. Let's start with some of the basic camera movements in any cinematographer's arsenal. First up, the pan. The pan can be a fast-paced whip pan like Paul Thomas Anderson. Conversely, the slow pan gives us time to take in the landscape. Next up, the tilt. You may not realize it, but one of the most effective opening shots in history is the tilt. Tilts often reveal something to us, subtly redirecting our attention. Next up, the zoom. The zoom can be a funny kind of punctuation because of its sudden nature. Our next shot is the dolly. A smooth movement often on a track, which moves the camera through a space, creating a different type of visual experience than the zoom or pan. Vertigo was the first film to ever combine the dolly and zoom at once. This is called the reverse dolly zoom. It's become a favorite of many filmmakers to show a character having an intense internal experience. Next, let's look at the pedestal shot, which moves the camera up and down. Here it's used to reveal the stakes of a scene in Inglourious Basterds. Another impressive three-dimensional move is the crane or boom shot, which might also tilt the camera and use a larger range of motion. The showdown is coming, and Sheriff Will Kane is left alone to protect the town. Next, the Steadicam or gimbal. Steadicam or gimbal shots like this one can have the same effect as the dolly, but because the camera is stabilized on the camera operator, it gracefully glides within a space. You can take that even a step further with the handheld shot. The handheld shot moves the camera through the space much like the Steadicam or gimbal, but it also has a raw, shaky feeling that creates more anxiety in the viewer. And lastly, we'll take a look at a type of shot that doesn't physically move the camera, but moves the lens, the rack focus. By racking focus, you bring something to the viewer's attention. All of those camera moves are fairly common knowledge. What really makes a great filmmaker is how you can combine them in unique ways. If you shoot scenes on sticks, but then go handheld for a sudden violent fight scene, well, then you got everyone paying attention and literally feeling the camera choices. How about this shot from the circle? It starts as a drone shot, but it's soon handed to an operator who glides the camera through the sequence. By combining shots in unique ways, you can direct the camera to create an engaging experience. Free shot listing offer a lot of camera moves and a lot of ways to combine them. But before you strap a camera operator to a drone and fly him off a cliff, ask yourself one important question. Do you have insurance? But then ask yourself another question. How does this support the story? You don't want the viewer to notice the cinematography, you want them to notice something in the story. The visual language is always evolving, and filmmakers have new tools available to them every day. But in the end, they're just tools, designed to move something else. The viewer's point of attention. When filmmakers rack focus or dolly in, all they're really doing is directing the audience's eye to something. If you start thinking about where the audience's eye is pointed, then you're truly moving the camera with a purpose. Watch the sequence and notice where your eye is throughout it.
Without anybody getting wise, the IRS or anybody. Now notice how in the count room nobody ever seems to see anything. Somehow somebody's always looking the other way. Now look at these guys, they look busy, right? They're counting money.